Hi, I'm Don Mooers, and welcome to Montgomery Week in Review. Interfaith Works has a new CEO, Shane Rock, and he's here today to introduce himself and tell us why and how he joined this wonderful group in our county. I also want to hear a little bit more about his vision for where he's going to take Interfaith Works in the future. There are 3 ballot questions for all of us in Montgomery County, 2 from the state and 1 that affects only our county. Linna Barnes, president of the League of Women Voters of Montgomery County, is here to explain. The Asian American community has begun to be much more politically active over these last few years. I'd say over the last couple of decades. I mean, it's been a great organization, or great community, the Asian American community in Montgomery County. Lily Chief from the Asian Pacific Political Alliance is here to give us some of the background and tell us about Asian voting patterns in our county. Latino community has the fastest growing group in our county, and as such is having growing political power. It's not growing as fast as the Asian community, but Mariana Cordier, a local attorney, is here to discuss the current state of affairs in Latino voting. Shane Rock, welcome, bienvenue.
Thank you.
Welcome, all of that business.
Happy to be here, thanks.
So 3 months at Interfaith Works now.
3 months.
Time flies.
Yes, indeed. It's been quite a wonderful 3 months. Interfaith Works is such a beloved agency, and I'm really honored and humbled to be its new leader. I've had the great joy of being able to get out in the community and meet so many people who love the work that we do and working to end homelessness and poverty in this county. It's been fabulous.
Now, you came to Interfaith Works from Jessup, from the Jewish Social Services Agency.
I did. I served as the Director of Senior Services for more than 2 years there.
Now, does this mean you're coming into Interfaith Works with a senior focus? Is something that they wanted you to be able to come in with as we're getting older, more needs, or is it because you're just such a superstar all over the place?
I think it's because of my overall career background. I have the sort of educational background of law and that sort of thing, but really I've done so many things in the poverty realm in my career. I've worked working with people who are homeless in rural Tennessee. I've done community development work in Wisconsin. I've run food banks, furniture banks, and anti-poverty programs, affordable housing advocacy programs in Washington State. So I have they were really bringing me in because of that background.
So it sounds to me, Shane, we can look at your career in one of 2 ways. Either you have lots of background, or it's been really tough for you to keep a job. I mean, let's face it. I have one of those careers myself, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. That law thing as well. Do you see, over these last 3 months, have you been able to see specific instances where, okay, it's a little thing from Seattle, experience from Seattle, where I can, this would be a great place to be able to apply here, from Tennessee, from the different aspects of your background?
Yeah, of course. It's been really, because of the work I did with refugees and immigrants in Seattle, I'm really, I'm used to working with diverse communities, and poverty really doesn't discriminate. It touches across all groups. In Montgomery County, it touches so many people. We have thousands of people struggling to make ends meet and to have a safe place to live, enough food on their table, and really a good upbringing for their kids. And that's across all groups. So all the things I've done in my career, I'm able to work on here.
Well, it seems to me...
Before going, there's a website, so as we listen to Linda's question here, it's a website where people can go to learn more about Interfaith Works.
That's, yes, there is. It's iworksmc.org.
Okay.
iworksmc.org.
Perfect.
What I was going to say, it seems to me, we do think of Montgomery County as being such an affluent county, and I think it's surprising for many people the number of people that really do live in poverty here, that it's not this community that existed 30 years ago, which it was very suburban and affluent.
I think that's exactly right, and we're seeing increasing poverty in the county, particularly among folks who are newcomers and are getting themselves established. What tends to happen is when parents arrive with their children, the parents struggle for a while, but the kids do really well. So we're in that sort of period where we've had a lot of people coming into the county, they're getting established, and they need a little bit of help, but then they'll take off and they'll do really well.
What about homelessness in the county?
Yeah, I think You know, Montgomery County, and this goes to sort of my vision for where I think Interfaith Works is going to make a real impact in partnership with the county and our other nonprofit partners. Homelessness in Montgomery County is declining slowly and not as quickly as we'd like, but it's declining. I think this is a place among all places in the United States where we can end homelessness in the next 6 to 8 years. There's a national goal of ending homelessness among veterans by the end of 2015. There's a national goal of ending chronic homelessness by the end of 2016, and I think we're going to accomplish both of those things here in Montgomery County and show the rest of the country how to do that. The same is true of poverty. I see us, Interfaith Works, working in partnership with others as leading the fight to end poverty in the county and showing the rest of the country it can be done here.
Well, what's an example of things that you're thinking in the strategy of being able to accomplish those goals?
Well, around homelessness, we know how to do it. When the work is intensive, it's difficult. It's really about case management and working with each individual or each individual family to remove the obstacles to their being stable in terms of their family life, their job, their ability to function on a day-to-day basis and make a plan for a different future. So one of the really interesting things that I've learned recently is in the area of brain research. There are new findings that people who are living in poverty or homelessness over a period of time experience decreased ability to make decisions, to control impulses, and to make plans for a different future. And so the work we do sort of relieves some of the stress and some of the everyday strain that inhibits their ability to do those things.
That's great. We got just a couple seconds left. I want to make sure, because this all needs to be paid for.
That's right.
You brought with your Rolodex from Seattle, you brought the Schultzes from Starbucks, you brought Paul Allen and the others from Microsoft, and you're going to help them understand how this Washington needs as much help as your old Washington?
Well, thankfully. Unfortunately, they tend to focus on the community around Seattle, but we're working to cultivate relationships here in this community to support our own neighbors.
I think bringing those 3,000-mile dollars is good.
That would be helpful.
Look forward to having you back over and over again in the
Thank
future
you,
to
Don.
keep us informed.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Shane. Linna Barnes, Linna Barnes, Linna Barnes.
3 times.
Yes,
Wow.
well, you're the associate producer of this show, president of the League of Women Voters of Montgomery County.
And one more.
Great leader in Chevy Chase and head up everything here.
You're taking my time away. I need to talk about the ballot questions.
Well, no, actually, I'm not taking the time away because nobody really cares about this election, do they? I mean, that's what I'm hearing.
Well, probably they don't care as much as some in the past, but they do have, they're going to have the governor to vote for.
Right.
They're going to have, many people are voting for delegates, you're voting for your representatives. So there are elections that one really should be aware of and be out there and voting.
For those people who see hopelessness in the human beings that they have the choices over, win them over with the ballot questions that are going to get them all excited to want to come out and vote.
Well, all right, ballot question 1. This is one of the state constitutional ballot questions. The Transportation Trust Fund. As it currently exists, the state General Assembly can decide to go in and take money out of the trust fund with majority vote. If 51% of the General Assembly votes in that way, that money can be used for the general revenues.
So this is the trust fund. Half of it goes to Baltimore City, and then the rest of the state splits the other half, right? No, that's the fund we're talking about.
We're talking about the Transportation Trust Fund, which is gas taxes, tolls, things like that.
Which is half goes to Baltimore City, the rest of us.
I can see you have a theme here, Don.
No, I just want to make sure of that. So we'd be getting more money to Baltimore by getting.
But we will be getting money too. So we want to make sure that this trust fund remains intact.
So are we?
Well, or this is what this constitutional amendment. If the General Assembly wants to take money out of it, they feel there's a fiscal crisis, 2 things have to happen if this amendment passes. 1, the governor has to declare a fiscal emergency, and 2, 3/5 of the assembly has to vote in favor of it.
So locking up that Transportation Trust Fund for what its purpose is, not be messed around by. Is good or bad? What's
well, I
Montgomery
mean,
County say?
it's how you view it. You can either say this money shouldn't be locked up; it should be used when it's needed, or you can say it should only be used for transportation. That's what it was designed for.
It sounds very important to Montgomery County, and
it does. I mean, one of the things Transportation Trust Fund does is provide county and municipalities with money for for the roads that they're in charge of. And that money was cut drastically and has not been replaced.
And we're always dealing with, because of the increase in population, traffic issues and the roads, and with the harsh winters, the potholes. Don't forget those potholes.
And that's where this money comes from for the repairs.
So even the little crumbs we get after Baltimore gets its share is still good. And speaking as former mayor of Chevy Chase, I'm glad the municipalities will get road stuff. What's the next thing?
Okay, the next one is number 2. It's really a technical amendment. When they amended the state constitution to allow special elections for county councils, they did not include county executives. So currently, if you have a county executive resign, die in office, the county council appoints that person. You cannot hold a special election. So this would
for the remainder of the 4-year term?
For the remainder of the 4-year terms.
Wow.
So this would amend that law to allow a special election to occur if the county decides to do it. The county will have to change the law too. Okay. And just moving right along, the final question A is a county amendment. And that's a real technical amendment again, because when the law was passed to allow these special elections for county council members, it did not make it clear that if you were going to represent a district, you had to live in that district. So this is a technical amendment to make sure in a special election the person will have to live in the district.
So we're going beyond what is required for Congress, where you just have to live in the state. You don't have to live in the district. These folks need to live in that.
We've always, I mean, certainly if you're running in the general election for a county council seat, you have to live in the district if it's a district seat.
Okay.
You have to do that, but now in special elections, you will have to also.
Any thoughts on these guys? I mean, they don't sound too controversial, but I know that now I'm going to go out and vote because of the ballot questions.
That's right.
That's right. Well, we hope everyone will go out and vote. President of the League of Women Voters, obviously, we're very concerned about voters and voter apathy, and so we really want people to think about the importance of doing their duty and voting. And actually, today, the early voting started, so you can go to locations around the county and vote.
Right, until next Thursday, I believe. I think it's the early voting.
Yes, it's a week long.
It's a week long, yeah. What are we doing? What are we thinking about turnout? What can we do as individuals to try to get people to care more?
Tell people they need to vote. There are 4 seats in for the Board of Elections that are up. Not Board of Elections, Board of Education. That's 50% of our budget in Montgomery County goes to the schools.
So if you really don't want to complain
5 seconds,
later
5 seconds.
about the budget of the education, you have to go vote.
You're done? That's the last word? We'll be right back after these messages. And we're back. Lily Chee, welcome back.
Thank you.
It is always a better show, Lily, when you're on it.
Oh my goodness. I put on my best clothing.
So I'm glad you're dressed up in your Sunday best. It's great. So tell us, the Asian American community, the stereotype for the Asian American community is that they go out and vote at a higher percentage than just about any other community. Active, understand the role that these elected officials play in our society, and we, still not enough Asian Americans in elected offices. But do I have it wrong?
Well, yes and no. In terms of voting participation, first let me start by saying the greater Washington region is now home to about 700,000 Asian population, including U.S. and non-U.S. citizens. And that's bigger than the whole city of Washington, D.C.
Right.
And it's about 10% of the total population of the metro region. So it's becoming a very important voting bloc
And
for
there's great
any parties.
diversity between,
Yes.
I mean, when you look at China
Enormous
and you look at
diversity.
India and,
That's right.
and Philippines, Japan, I mean, just as major, I mean, there's,
Right.
you might as well be from different
Right,
continents.
and because 3/4 of them are immigrants from about half of the globe, I would like to
Right.
say. And so there are some interesting dynamics that I would like to offer in terms of my personal observations from many years of community engagement. And so I would like to talk about 3 levels of engagement when it comes to election-related activities. One is voting. Second is participating in campaign-related activities, and third is running for offices. You know, When it comes to voting, you're right. Asian Americans, among those registered voters, we tend to show up at a higher rate than the general population. But the rate of registration is probably still not very high because many of them are still becoming citizens and getting to know the system. Okay. But once you get them registered, they seem to have a lot of enthusiasm about participating in registration, in voting.
Is there, I mean, again, broad brushing. Half of the globe is a dangerous thing, but do you think there's something in people's backgrounds that compels them to want to participate this way, to make sure they vote, where we don't see that with native-born Americans so much, or non-Asian?
If people are not interested, they probably wouldn't register to begin with. But among those who register to vote, we have seen the patterns.
Yeah, but why? Why?
Well, there might be some level of new citizen excitement, and I don't have specific statistics, but I believe they might have participated in greater number in general elections than the primary elections, especially because some states have closed primaries, which means if they are not aligned with any political parties, they are going to be inconsequential voters
like
in those. Exactly.
Okay, so we've got voting and then being engaged, either as volunteers or campaign contributions, all that.
Two very different things. We are seeing more participation in campaign-related political, so to speak, activities, not just democratic participation. That interest remains very low, and it's sporadic. It's not organized and not strategic. As of now, most people's participation in rallies and fundraising and all that has been top down, which means the campaigns want to reach out to the voting blocks and they try to engage those voters. But it's neither strategic nor sustainable because it's very sporadic. And some communities, because the community, it's not groundswell of desire to want to participate and support any political parties or any candidates. They want to wait until they have time to study the ballot, talk to the neighbors or whatever. And many of them like to be independently analytical. They don't like to be influenced by the party rhetoric or some party alignment.
I was going to say, I did see, I mean, when there's a candidate, an Asian candidate, often I think there's a real groundswell of support.
If someone looks like them, speaks their language, connect with them, if someone they know who has been showing up at the events and express real interest, then they all of a sudden become much more engaged. But for the most part, to pay someone so that their campaign will have the fund to run TV, as those kind of concepts are so new to them, they are not showing up in droves at political fundraisers or rallies.
So are there efforts underway to get more Asian candidates to really start to build that momentum?
That's point number 3.
Yeah,
got about
point
a minute
number 3,
left
we have seen in recent years some real participation in terms of people wanting to run for offices. We have a couple in offices in Virginia now, and we have 5 incumbents in Maryland. They're all delegates, which is probably top of the chart state countrywide. And we are seeing Rose Lee, who's from District 16, who's adding to the pack. Maybe
endorsed by the Washington Post this morning. Endorsed by the Washington Post, Rose Lee was.
But the reality is most the Asian voters, Asian American voters, tend to be independent, swing voters. So I think it's important for both parties to think strategic ways of engaging the community on a long-term basis, to really think about how to engage them for the rest of 3 years and not just swoop down when you need our votes and the money,
And we need the money ourselves. Listen, I hope you'll keep coming back and letting us know more about this.
Yeah, but most people defer the running for office part to the second generation. My argument is we shouldn't have to wait a generation.
Let us not wait.
We need to cultivate.
Unfortunately, we have to stop and we have to wait on your continuing on until the next time you're on the show. But thank you, Lily. I appreciate it, because we have to turn now to Mariana Cordier.
Hello.
Hello. We've heard great participation. High levels of voting. What's the situation with the Latino community?
Well, the Latino community is young, and it has a great number of, especially in this area, because we're not like California and Texas and those areas with the Mexican immigration that occurred. So, first of all, broad brush, you're talking about Latin America. So the Argentina, I'm from Argentina, born in Argentina and naturalized here, so I don't have the same, You
can't speak for Mexico
I
and
can't
Honduras?
speak for, no. When I got here, they offered me a taco dinner, and they asked me, did I get it right? And I'm like, I have no idea, I've never had a taco in my life.
Give me some pasta
Yeah.
and some beef.
Right, but so that broad brushing, you know, to understand our culture, it's the same thing. Kind of, we're not half the world, but
Sure.
we have you know, the Western Hemisphere for a good part of it, and so different levels of participation in the home countries has translated on how they participate here in the United States. There is a sense of excitement when they're naturalized and, you know, swearing in ceremony and rushing, you know, to register to become a voter. But there is not the same as with Americans born and raised here of aligning themselves with a party, because they don't know, so they're not sure, so they're independent. So they kind of, you know, don't get to participate as much in the primaries. And then there are the values, you know, so the values of the Republicans, as it's touted with regard to family, broad brushing it, and all those other issues about the women's health, her body, and everything, becomes, they seem a little bit more Republican, but at the same time, the issues about taking care of the community, you know, services to the community, the services they may need, because, you know, when they come in, you know, they struggle for a period of time, kind of like what Shane was talking about earlier, and then they take off. And so that's throughout all the struggle, you're dealing with people who have been required by law in their home countries to vote in elections, and they had to, if not, it was illegal. They were in trouble. Or you had where they could vote voluntarily, and they would decide. And then the overall issues that Latin America has faced with corruption and with the elections and democracy, you know, they were voting for a candidate that nobody wanted, but that's, you know, that was it, you know. So it's
a mixed bag.
It's a very mixed bag, and so it's very hard to say what any one group is doing.
Let's some of the way that Lily looked at it, and we'll get everybody engaged here, but looking at it from voting, so we've got a mixed bag, contributions, and then political candidates. Maybe you can touch on both of those real quick.
Small businesses are big in this state, and they're big in this county, and a lot of the Latino American community are small business owners. They're very aware about their taxes, about the services. Education is huge for their children, and for their futures. They see it as a very
supporting candidates.
So they're supporting candidates that are addressing the issues with regard to education. That are addressing, you know, taxes and small businesses, and they're dealing with the issues.
I was going to say, well, you've got I know that the Latino Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I mean, they're very much involved in elections, and trying to support candidates. And
Yes, they're getting more and more active in trying to educate the population on the candidates. You know, who are the folks that are really looking out for us? Who are the folks that are not?
And I think I'm sorry. And I think from what you just said, I can echo that by saying a lot of the immigrant populations are far less ideological, much more practical in who they choose to vote to align with.
It's what's going to affect my
bread and butter
line.
life.
How am I going to pay?
And that goes back to the whole idea of political parties aren't as important to them because they haven't. That's not what they grew up in.
No, and I think the fear is, I think of those who are opposed to opening the primaries, is because this population is so large. You're actually creating almost a third party, the independents.
Shane, what are you going to say?
Well, so it isn't the case, though, that immigration is really moving the vote as much, or is it?
It does, because a lot of individuals have family left back home that they want to bring, and the immigration conversation has gotten very ugly and has been ugly. And so I think when it comes to the presidential elections, when they come around, that the Democrats and the Republicans have a lot of explaining to do.
And maybe the president will do something just after this election. We'll see. Last thing, 10 seconds. What's going on with elected officials from Latino community? Are we seeing? We're going to see more?
We are seeing an increase in them wanting to participate as being the delegates and such. We have a senator, so it's good. But we need more. We need more leadership.
More from your community. More from your community. More good people all around. And Shane, I want to thank you for your first time on this show. I want to thank all of you here with me, and I want to thank all of you in the viewing audience for joining us for this week's edition of Montgomery Week in Review. I'm Don Mooers. Please join us next week at this very same time.